will be sharing we'll be sharing actually relevant information about the development of Islamic finance in the Commonwealth of Independent States, which is also commonly referred to as the CIS region, with a specific focus on Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan countries. So for those who are not yet familiar with Finapolis Al Maali, please allow me to briefly introduce the company for you. Actually, Finapolis Al Maali is one of the leading Islamic finance consulting firms that are created from a merger between two globally renowned firms, Finapolis and Al Maali. So the company specializes in providing strategic Islamic finance consulting support to institutions and regulations in a manner that promotes the attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The company actually specializes in providing strategic Islamic finance consulting supports to institutions and regulators in a manner that promotes the attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Goals. So our presence, actually, we are covering both Africa, Southeast Asia, Europe, and currently also the CIS region. And actually, our advisory is shared in two categories, if I would say. The first one is the government advisory, and the second one would be institutional advisory. So we provide national policy and strategy. We provide advisory in the field of Islamic finance. Also in Islamic, we provide Islamic finance architecture. We provide capacity building for regulators. Also, we have had several experience actually in the sovereign Islamic financial instruments, and that was by assisting governments in issuing sukuk. So we provide actually the same services when it comes to private institutions, and we make that under the institutional advisory, as we provide Islamic financial engineering, and we have had few experiences with some operations in different parts of the world, from Africa going to Europe, and also in the Central Asia. We did capacity building, and we also work on capacity building of operators. We provide Sharia governance and compliance services, also business plan studies and Sharia audit. We also have a strong presence in the field of takaful. So this is a very brief overview of the services that we are providing. Actually, I don't want to make it longer because the discussion and the focus is more into the CIS region, and we want to hear more from our speakers. This is just a brief representation of some of our clients. Besides the advisory activities, we are very active actually in organizing events that are related to the industry, from conferences, trainings, and to webinars such as the one that you are attending to right now. We also issue reports that are related to the industry in different parts of the world, and also using different languages from French to Arabic and then English. So again, as I mentioned, this is just an overview of the company. I don't want to make it longer because the focus will be in this session on understanding the Islamic finance ecosystem in this region, actually. And with me, in order to tackle this topic, in order to address this topic, I have with me three distinguished and learned panelists, starting with Ms. Medina Chikolova. Actually, Ms. Medina is head of Astana International Financial Center, IFC Hub for Islamic Finance and Business in the IFC Authority. Just a brief introduction to Ms. Medina. Ms. Medina has experience in the Regional Financial Center of Almaty and the National Bank of the Republic of Kazakhstan. She participated in the developing legal acts and strategic documents on Islamic finance. Ms. Medina has been developing and promoting Islamic finance in Kazakhstan and the Central Asia region in general for more than 10 years. She is a certified Islamic banker, and in 2021, she was included in the Cambridge IFA ranking for the top 50 most influential women in Islamic finance and business. Ms. Medina, welcome, and thank you for joining us. We have also with us Mr. Danyar Mamirov, and Mr. Danyar started actually his career in the Russian securities market. He also worked in a number of commercial banks of Moscow, where he received certificates of professional broker, securities market, and depository specialist. Later, he joined International Center for Islamic Finance Education in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where he graduated with a master's in Islamic finance practices. Mr. Danyar was invited to participate in the launch of the first in Kyrgyzstan, the first Islamic microfinance organization, which is called the Berik Finance LLC, as a member of the Sharia board. Since 2016, he has been a member of the Institute of Certified Finance, Islamic Finance Professionals, CIF, Malaysia, as well as a member of the Russian Association of Islamic Finance Experts. That's in Moscow, Russia. In connection with the active development of the Islamic finance industry in Kyrgyz Republic, he founded the consulting and training company Umma Finance. He is currently the managing partner of Sharatsky Advisory. responsible for advising commercial banks, SMEs, and microfinance companies. Ms. Danyar, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Glad to hear everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Danyar. Also, we have with us Ms. Lyubov Aramian. Ms. Lyubov is also certified. She is certified certified auditor of the Kyrgyz Republic. She has over 10 years experience in audit of financial statements as per the IFRS and the national bank's requirements. Ms. Lyubov has 2 years experience in microfinance sector, acting as head of finance department at Balik Finance microfinance company. She is also responsible for investor relationship and attracting the financing. Ms. Lyubov, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Most welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we have a packed agenda for today. So let's begin. And we'll start by introducing the topic. And as you all aware, there has been an increasing interest in Islamic finance in the Central Asia recently. This comes with the huge potential that this region has for the development of various sectors of Islamic finance. And also, and actually, in fact, Moody has recently reported that there is an expected growth in the Islamic banking sector in the CIS countries, which will be driven by government initiatives to promote the sector. More specifically, this growth will be championed by Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan primarily because of their large Muslim population, as well as initiatives taken by their government in providing adequate legal and infrastructure for this growth. This is what differentiates these countries from other CIS countries with slower growth in Islamic finance. Similarly, several governments in the region are looking to reduce the regulatory hurdles that hinder the growth of Islamic finance. The increase in demand for Sharia-compliant financial alternatives is staggering, as it has led banks in countries with weaker growth potential like Russia to start offering Sharia-compliant alternatives to meet the demand. So before opening the floor to the presentations, there are some housekeeping rules. Actually, we'll be having a Q&A session by the end of our discussion. If you have any question, you can now or during the discussion drop it in the chat. Otherwise, by the end of the session, during the Q&A session, you can unmute your mic and ask the question directly to our speakers. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. And I think since we are tight in time, I'm going to start the ball rolling by handing over the virtual mic to Ms. Medina and asking the first question. So, Ms. Medina, actually, we have noticed that although CIS region as a whole seems to have an increasing interest in the Islamic finance industry, most countries do not have a robust regulatory infrastructure for Islamic finance. So in your opinion, what can you say about the development of Islamic finance in the CIS countries? And what role does Kazakhstan, or specifically IFC, play in promoting Islamic finance in the region?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you a lot.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you a lot for this webinar. I would like to thank our esteemed moderator and my colleague speakers and also all participants for sharing their time with us. So first of all, I would like to say that I think that all countries have quite a good track record in the field of Islamic finance development. Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and AIC, they have their own Islamic finance legislation and quite active market participants. Uzbekistan is also ready to provide Islamic financial activities, and also they are ready to establish a legislation in the country. So we can say that each country has its own Islamic finance ecosystem, but I think it is time to do it together. I mean, just recently, like last week, AIC hosted a high-level regulatory meeting with the Central Asia regulators, where we had Islamic finance session. And together with regulators, we understand that it's time to build a close cooperation with regulators and also with the market. So we understand different activities that can be done by the regulators to attract investment here in Central Asia, I mean Islamic finance, Islamic investors, and also to develop market regulatory framework, and also maybe good legislation and etc. So we are, as AIC, we are ready to also to provide our platform and where we can share our experience together, because as I mentioned, we have all of us have a good experience and have a good track record. So by promoting EIFC as a regional financial center, we understand that our facilities can be used by whole region. And right now we see a high interest from the regional countries to establish companies in EIFC, and also a high interest to issue sukuk on our platform from the regional issuers. So as a EIFC, we are ready to provide our platform as a promotion platform, as a platform for discussion, and also for the implementation.
As I mentioned earlier, there has been an increasing interest in Islamic finance in the CIS region. And to actually follow up on what Ms. Medina says, Ms. Libov, can you enlighten us on the development of Islamic finance in Kyrgyzstan specifically?
First of all, I would like to tell thank you to organizers of this webinar and for having invited me to participate in this panel session. Overall, I would like to say about the Kyrgyzstan, it is the first country in the Central Asia that in 26 joined to Islamic Bank of Development, and also in this year, the National Bank obtained the right to issue licenses for Islamic finance. And nowadays, there are a broad practical base and legal framework in this area. And certainly, the appearance of new trend in the Islamic financial system will have a positive impact on country's development. And as of today, in Kyrgyzstan, only one bank, that is named the Eco-Islamic Bank, provides a wide range of financial services based on the principles of Sharia. And there are 2 commercial banks, 6 microcredit companies, and 1 state mortgage company that have separate license from National Bank for Islamic window, which allows also to perform financing under Islamic financing principles with traditional financial institutions. 2 more state-owned banks and state guarantee fund has recently received a license for Islamic window and are planning to start Islamic operating in 2023. Thus, the emergence of new participants in Kyrgyzstan will also expand the types of financing under Islamic finance principles. So this is a brief summary of Islamic finance situation in Kyrgyz Republic.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Libov. Actually, alhamdulillah, operators are increasingly, new operators are increasingly starting their business, Sharia compliant financing in, as you mentioned, Kyrgyzstan, and also, as Ms. Medina mentioned, in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, and this is very promising. Now, I think I will shift my attention to Mr. Daniel, because he will be able to probably answer this question, as I'm a bit curious on the effect of the war in Ukraine. I want to seek your thoughts, Mr. Daniel, regarding the current and anticipated effect of the war in Ukraine on the situation of the Islamic finance industry in the region as a whole.
Yes. The effect of Ukrainian crisis has big influence to Kyrgyzstan market, also a financial market, and it has more positive effect because a lot of customers, new customers coming from Russia, who are seeking for transfer of money or seeking for banking services. And now we see that a lot of Visa card users are coming to use the Visa services from Kyrgyzstan. A lot of Russian citizens. We see also that Kyrgyzstan has benefited in terms of in total, according to preliminary data, the National Bank, we have net profit of banking sector has increased up to 5 times more than the same period last year, and it's amounted total profit amounted to 19 billion sons, which means that this effect has been very similar, very significant, because we see that banking sector has been really has been increasing its profit. At the same time, we see that a new Islamic finance sector, we see that a new players coming. As Lyubov mentioned, she said one bank who was offering Islamic window services, but there was also two new banks who are now offering, willing to offer Islamic services through their windows, Islamic windows. And we see that the government has set certain indicators and goals to achieve, which I think will be achieved, inshallah, in the near future. And as I said, the new two banks are coming to open. They got just this month. They got licenses from National Bank of Kyrgyzstan. It's Ayıl Bank and Ereska Bank. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you for your input, Mr. Daniel. That's very promising, actually. And yeah, coming back actually to Ms. Medina on Kazakhstan experience. Ms. Medina, can you please briefly tell us about the differences in the Islamic finance ecosystem operated in Kazakhstan and AIFC, with a particular reference to the type of actors and available regulators?
Thank you for your question. So first of all, like briefly, what is AIFC? So Astana International Financial Center is a financial hub in Kazakhstan. So it is a large zone within our capital, Astana, where participants of the AIFC may be located and provide their business activities. So Islamic finance is one of the core pillars of AIFC, and AIFC's mission is to contribute to the sustainable economic development of the country and the region by developing different type of activities and different products and services within the AIFC. So if we're talking about Islamic finance in AIFC in Kazakhstan, first of all, Kazakhstan, what we have. So in Kazakhstan, we have legislation for Islamic banks, takaful companies, and ijara companies. Possibility to issue 3 types of sukuk within Kazakhstan Stock Exchange, and also our regulators, national regulators, we have 2, National Bank of Kazakhstan and Agency for the Regulation and Development of Financial Market. So they have a membership in IFSB and IOFI. As a result, today we have 2 Islamic banks in Kazakhstan, Al Hilal and Zaman Bank. We have 2 ijara companies, Al Sakar and Kazakhstan Ijara Company. And Development Bank of Kazakhstan issued sukuk, but I think like around 10 years ago. So if we're talking about like Islamic finance in AIFC, AIFC develops Islamic finance ecosystem. So with the support of the international organizations such as ISDB, ADB, IFSB, SIBAFI, and IOFI, AIFC has established a regulatory framework following with financial practices and standards. So we have a possibility, and we have our own regulator, first of all, and this regulator can license, it can authorize like Islamic banks, Islamic financial companies, non-banking, Islamic asset management, brokerage, takaful, retakaful companies, and etc. So all of them, they can be AIFC participants. So AIFC provides favorable conditions for Islamic financial institutions, and for example, until November 2023, AFSA, Astana Financial Service Authority, it's our regulator, AIFC regulator, reduced the minimum requirements for the authorized capital for Islamic financial institutions and Islamic banks, takaful companies, and Islamic financial companies. Also, we provide exemption from corporate income tax and VAT for the licensed financial service providers, including Islamic banking institution, non-banking, takaful, and retakaful. And last year, November last year, we signed a kind of currency regulation act between AFSA, National Bank of Kazakhstan, and agency, that regulator in Kazakhstan for financial market. that allows some of the companies, licensed companies, provide their activities to the resident of Kazakhstan. And I would like to mention that Islamic Bank and Takaful companies, they can provide their services to the residents of Kazakhstan. I'm talking about individuals and corporates in any currency. So as a result, right now we have registered different companies, and hopefully like all the registered companies, they will like actively provide their activities to the residents of Kazakhstan. We have Islamic registered and licensed Islamic Bank, financial company, different ancillary service providers, Islamic fintech companies, crowdfunding companies. Also, we are trying to develop Islamic capital market, so that's why we have special conditions for the sukuk issuers, and we cross-listed within our own stock exchange. In AIC, we have our own stock exchange, so we cross-listed sukuk of Qatar International Islamic Bank and Islamic Development Bank. And also for the retail investors, this year we developed a new type of instrument, exchange traded notes, ETNs, which complies with Sharia, and residents of Kazakhstan can buy these instruments within special application of our stock exchange. So we are, as AIC, we take a lead position in Islamic finance in Kazakhstan, and by signing this Currency Regulation Act that allows Islamic banks or takaful companies provide their activities for Kazakhstan residents, our national regulator, they kind of blessed us and say, okay, go ahead, you can develop Islamic finance market.
I see. Thank you very much for this explanation, Ms. Median. Actually, I would like to pick it up from the two Islamic banks that are currently operating in Kazakhstan. You have mentioned one of them, which is Zaman Bank. And actually, I would like to proudly mention that Al-Maali was actually behind the conversion of Zaman Bank from conventional to an Islamic bank back in 2014. And that was a project that was conducted together by Al-Maali and ICD. Actually, one of the experts that have participated in that project, I would say, is our expert, Mr. Mohammed Boulif, and I believe that he's with us here today. So this is just between brackets. This is something that I would like to mention, as we are very happy that we have been part in the development of Islamic finance in the region, and that was back in 2014. And now hopefully we can achieve more and more, inshallah. So thank you very much again, Ms. Medina, for mentioning about the current status of Islamic finance in Kazakhstan, and also to mention about the role of IFC. And I would like to turn to Ms. Libov. And actually, Ms. Libov, you come from the industry in Kyrgyzstan, and you have an important background in the microfinance sector. So in 2017, the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic issued strategic documents for the period of 2018-2022. And it defined a targeted growth for Islamic banking sector from 1.5 to 5% by 2022. So can you please enlighten us on the outcome of this strategic initiative? Did the sector actually meet the targeted growth, or has it even exceeded? To be
okay. Before answering the question, please let me give you some background on the microfinance company, Baylik Finance, which I am pleased to present today. Baylik Finance has been operating about 12 years in the microfinance market, and is ranked top 3 among non-banking financial sector in Kyrgyz Republic, with total assets of about 30 million USD. The main mission of the company is to issue traditional microloans through a branched network to people in rural and remote regions of our country, and to provide the opportunities to get household appliances, electronics, furniture in installments via Murabaha product, and thus create affordable financial solutions to improve the quality of people, the quality of life. 1 year ago, the company received the license from National Bank on Islamic window. And we started with the simplest Islamic financing structure, Murabaha. But now we are developing of a new product. It's like a combination of Ijara service and Kart Hasan for providing the Islamic financing in housing improvement. As I noted at the beginning of our session, in Kyrgyzstan operates 6 microfinance companies with the right to provide Islamic finance, but only 2 of them, such as microcredit company Mol Bulak and Baylik Finance, have significant share in the providing of Islamic finance. Thus, returning to questions about the development and achievements of targeted growth, let me give you some numbers. And according to our estimations, about 2.53% is related to Islamic finance in terms of total financial sector. And where the share of microfinance companies in Islamic finance is only 0.6%. And in terms of growth of microfinance sector, then the share of Islamic finance is 5%, and 1% of them is related to Baylik finance. In absolute terms, on the example of our company, the outstanding loan portfolio of Islamic product as of today is about 3 million USD. The company plans to grow by 6–10% up to the end of the next year. Again, returning to questions before about the achievement, statistics says that the target growth 5% is not achieved yet. I guess that Daniel will help me to cover this question as well and share his thoughts on this also.
Sure, Mr. Daniel, if you want to have any input regarding this question, please, floor is yours.
Yes, actually, despite the fact that we have a quite significant progress also, as Kyrgyzstan was one of the first countries in Central Asia who has adopted in civil code certain amendments on Islamic financing, but still there have been certain serious challenges in present. We have a lot of bureaucracy, we have different obstacles which hinders the development of Islamic banking and finance industry. But still, I hope and I think that we will have serious progress in the future, inshallah. And at the present stage, I see that a lot of new players are interested in opening Islamic window business and Islamic microfinancing. And I see that further harmonization on implementation of international Sharia standards in Kyrgyzstan and IOFE standards, and it also expanding possibilities of Islamic finance industry in Kyrgyzstan. We see also certain accounting developments in the accounting regulation of Kyrgyzstan in terms of regulation of Islamic financing products. And I think that the year 2023 will be more promising, and it will be more interesting in terms of development of Islamic finance. As the Ministry of Economy and Commerce proposed a draft concept of for development of Islamic economic platform in Kyrgyzstan for the period of 2027. It is a draft document, which it's a concept document which was aimed to develop to ensure the accelerated growth of achievement of sustainable and efficient functioning of Islamic economy and finance sector. And according to this concept paper, Kyrgyzstan has set a purpose and vision of the formation of Kyrgyzstan as a regional center of Islamic economics and finance. And for this purpose, the government is planning to systemize the Islamic economics sectors, increase the awareness among the population, raise awareness, systemize identificate the halal industry also, which should help also to develop Islamic economy and to strengthen Islamic finance sector. And also government is trying to launch Islamic securities, corporate Islamic securities. So this draft concept also is setting these aims and goals. And also the government is willing to systemize the state zakat and waqf system, which is also important for the purpose of development of Islamic finance. As we know that the government, in terms of to develop Islamic finance, we should have developed judicial Islamic finance system. I mean, the Sharia courts, not necessarily Sharia courts, it may be in the region of CIS, it can be some departments of arbitrage courts, for example. Yes.
Just as a follow-up to what you said, Mr. Dania, and I would like to stay with you for the follow-up of this question. So do you think with what you have mentioned now, the development of Islamic finance at the same time in different sectors in Kyrgyzstan, do you think with this development and with these goals and perspective, do you think that Kazakhstan would be able to catch up with, do you think that Kyrgyzstan actually would be able to catch up with Kazakhstan's progress in Islamic finance and its goal to be the regional center of the sector?
It's not necessarily we should catch up. I mean, in terms of development of Islamic finance, we should cooperate in terms of development, because our markets are too small, and we have enough space to develop our markets in collaboration. We know that Astana Islamic Finance Center has big opportunities in terms of development of common law. So we also could develop these possibilities, and especially in green financing sector. Also, Astana has a lot of good regulation. So I know that there are certain activities of Kyrgyzstan companies and banks which now are opening their collaboration with Astana Islamic Finance Green Center and Green Center. There is a Islamic Green Center under the Astana Islamic Financial Center. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for this clarification, Mr. Daniel. And as we are running out of time, I think I will quickly go back to Ms. Medina. And Ms. Medina, the Islamic Finance Master Plan for the Republic of Kazakhstan was launched in 2020. So what was the achievement, or what were the achievements so far? If you can please answer in less than 2 minutes.
Thank you. So Islamic Finance Master Plan was developed under the technical assistance of the Islamic Development Bank. So it has like a clear vision and the recommendations from the consultant how to develop Islamic, not only Islamic finance, but also like, you know, different fields and sectors of Islamic finance industry, such as the banking, capital market, non-banking, fintech, halal, as well as human capital development. So I think achievement, I already mentioned during like, you know, my previous answer, because we are going like, and we are developing in line with the master plan. If we're talking about like, you know, challenges, for example, like my colleague Daniel, he mentioned Islamic windows. In Kazakhstan, Islamic windows are banned, unfortunately. But for like in AIFC, we allow to open Islamic windows if you have this, if the jurisdictions of the like, you know, conventional bank allows it. So another like challenge maybe for AIFC is continue to develop regulatory framework. And I would like to specify, for example, I mentioned this Currency Regulation Act. Unfortunately, non-financial companies, we didn't include it in the previous, like, you know, version 1. So we hope to develop this act, and also non-financial companies could provide, will provide their services for Kazakhstan residents. Also, another challenge is implementation. For example, we have like, you know, we are trying to develop capital market. We have regulation, or takaful, we have regulation, but unfortunately, no supervisions, no takaful companies right now, no Kazakhstan, no AIFC. So it may be like, you know, for the reason of the awareness, first of all, and the second is active market players. So for the first one, yes, we are trying to organize different events, workshop, webinars. Just recently, we presented Sukuk guidelines and Islamic finance product guidelines for the market. But for the second, I encourage our participants to be more active, to open Islamic financial institutions, not only from Kazakhstan local one, but also I welcome to see international companies to open their representatives office in AIFC or Kazakhstan, so we can understand. Maybe we have to develop the regulatory framework. We're ready to support, we're ready to help, but first of all, we need the real company.
Understood. Thank you, Ms. Medina. Now going back to Ms. Libov, and this is my last question to you, Ms. Libov. And it will be about the measures that are to be taken to make Islamic finance more attractive in Kyrgyzstan specifically, and if you want to have more input for the region as a whole.
From my point of view, some marketing activities, as well as keeping the people informed about the availability of Islamic financing, about the types of Islamic products, and constantly provide trainings for public and employees of Islamic companies on financial literacy by experts. As we are suffer, or how to say, lack of experts in Kyrgyzstan in Islamic financing.
Understood. Thank you very much, Ms. Libov. So I think it's time to open the floor for the Q&A session. We still did not receive any questions in the chat, but please, if you have a question, whether you can drop it in the chat or you can just unmute yourself and ask our speakers directly. In the meanwhile, I mean, while waiting for some questions from the audience, I think I have another question, which will be to the trio of our speakers. And please just feel free to answer based on the context of your country. So the first question will be, which sector do you think have more potential for development? Is it the banking sector, the insurance, the Islamic capital market, or the Islamic social finance? I think let's start with Mr. Daniel.
In my opinion, the near future, our region will have a lot of perspectives in development of social finance. I mean,
social finance,
especially, yes, fintech, Islamic microfinancing, these sectors. Because we have really, the banking sector is really, it's mostly for high net worth customers, in my opinion. And you should have a certain amount of knowledge and awareness in the banking in order to use these instruments.
Yeah, sorry. Hello, excuse me. Please, I would like to ask from our audience.
You're also muted right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that I would like to ask from our audience to mute themselves until they have a question, and they can unmute themselves. So please go ahead, Mr. Daniel. By your turn, you are muted also. Mr. Daniel, you are muted. Hello, Mr. Daniel, you are actually muted.
I think, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, yes.
I think mostly Islamic finance, Islamic social finance, and Islamic fintech sectors will be leading sectors in development of Islamic finance in the region, in my opinion. Because, as I told before, banking sector is more for high net worth customers, which people are required a certain amount of knowledge and awareness in the banking instruments. But social finance is more, can be used for any category of customers, and it doesn't require a lot of knowledge in finance. So I think this will be more leading
Understood.
sectors in the near future, in my opinion.
Always in Kyrgyzstan, I would like to move on to Ms. Libov. The same question is about which country, which sector you think has more potential to be developed? Is it the banking sector or Islamic social finance, Islamic capital market?
I joined to Daniar's word and have no other to add to this.
Okay, perfect. So moving on now to Kazakhstan with Ms. Medina. Actually, there is my question for you is the same, but I think I would like you to focus more on the Islamic social finance in your answer, please, because we have a question in the chat that asks about Islamic social finance.
So I think it is vital to develop all the components of Islamic finance in financial industry. Right now, our regulators, not only Kazakhstan but Central Asian, they are more focused on Islamic banking. But we have to develop Islamic fintech, as it was mentioned by my colleague, and also social finance. Yes, we have it like in our master plan, we have a special recommendations to develop social financing, and we are trying to work with our muftiyat, and we are trying to work with halal industry also to develop the social finance. So not yet a big progress from our side, but we hope to see more interesting projects, especially social, social or maybe social green sukuk.
Is there any thinking about discussion about having a centralized waqf or zakat institution in the region?
I don't think it will be a centralized zakat because we already have our in-home zakat institutions. But in future, I don't know, maybe if the scholars will unite, the Sharia scholars and muftiyat of two countries and other countries from the region will unite, probably in the future, it's also possible. Why not centralized zakat institution or centralized waqf institution? Everything is possible. We should start, I think, from simple thing, from the collaboration in the Hajj pilgrimage and Hajj fund organization, because these institutions are more now important for the development of Islamic finance. As we know, the development of Islamic finance in Malaysia started from systemization of Hajj pilgrimage and creation of Hajj fund. So we should start from these steps also.
Understood. Thank you for your input, Mr. Daniel. Again, one more time, I would like to open the floor for discussions and questions from the audience. Please, if you have any question, you can just drop it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask it directly to our speakers. I can see that there is one question in the chat, and it's what are the main obstacles to get social investment into the Islamic microfinance sector? The question was general, so who from the speakers would like to answer this one? Probably Mr. Daniel, since you have been talking about the Islamic social finance just now.
Just let me check. The question is
okay. What are the main obstacles to get social investment into the Islamic microfinance sector?
Yes. The main obstacle is Lubov also knows these obstacles. It's mostly the lack of Sharia compliant investments from Sharia compliant institutions. This is the main obstacle for the development of Islamic social finance and microfinance. Because we are working a lot on attracting investments for our local microfinance companies as well for bilingual finance. We see the lack of proper understanding of local market mostly, and the understanding of the preferences of entering this market. Many institutions are investing fintech companies or startups, but social finance and microfinance is the most profitable sector I think in the region, and we have the highest profit rates in the region actually. And that's why conventional microfinance is developing. It has a lot of profits, but unfortunately Islamic social finance, we have this problem, obstacles which don't help us to develop social finance. So I think Lubov also will agree with me, I think.
Yeah, I would like to add that there is also difficulties in automatization processes between the suppliers and the company, because first of all, the company bought the product in Murabaha, via Murabaha, and then process this product to its clients. So automatization of such instruments is very important also.
Another question from the chat, which is also related to the same topic, and it's about the difficulties to finance that you are facing in order to finance goods and services with Islamic banking or Islamic microfinance. For example, do you face any challenges or difficulties in the liquidity, in the limitation of products? I mean, if you can just walk us through the difficulties that you have in order to finance some certain goods in your in Kyrgyzstan.
So regarding the challenges for biolic finance, as Daniyar mentioned, it's absence of Islamic financial institutions and funds that are ready to provide funding for Islamic finance, and resources from share capital that were allowed by biolic Sharia court are almost used. And while to reach the target growth of portfolio, the company now seek extra 5-8 million USD. So it's very important for our company to find Islamic financial institutions that are ready. But our requests to international Islamic funds for Islamic finance are most often denied because of funds exposure policy to share capital size for non-bank financial institutions, and which is usually 5 times higher than BILIC's total equity. So it seems that international Islamic banks are not ready to provide Islamic finance to small companies as our company in Kyrgyz Republic. So it's a very big problem and challenge that we faced nowadays.
Understood. And I hope that the regulations will work on this issue. Next question will be about from the regulatory side, and I think I would like to address it to Ms. Medina. There is a question that we have in the chat, and our sister Arwa is actually asking. She is saying that we have heard from the session about the efforts of the regulations to promote Islamic finance. So what is the perception of the citizens? Is there a demand for Islamic finance from the people?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we have a demand from the people, and we are planning to organize such a kind of survey to understand, what is the demand. But we see, when we organize different events, we see a high demand, to participate. And also I see how, people just 5-7 years ago, they just asked us during the session, they asked us a question about the financing, how to finance, how to get financing from Sharia compliant financial institutions. But today we're asking about investment instruments. So they're also they're developing with us, and now they need different type of instruments.
Understood. Thank you very much, Ms. Medina, for your input. If we can take 1 or 2 questions from the audience before we close the Q&A session. I can see that there is another one, and it's, quote, how do Islamic fintech startups penetrate into the CIS region? Are there any requirements to leverage an enabling environment to launch at the CIS region? We'd like to explore opportunities for startups. So I think we have some practitioners, some startups here with us who would like to know more about
if I may,
the region.
So
please.
In AIFC, we have a special sandbox for the fintech startups, and also within our regulator, ASA. So, and also we have a tech hub. It's our organization, which also assists startups. And within this tech hub, They have even like startup exchange. It's a kind of exchange to attract more investments. So I will be happy to assist you. Please contact me, and I could introduce you to other companies. Let me share with you my email, and if you have any questions regarding the registration, authorization process, or other questions about Kazakhstan or EAC, I will be happy to answer.
Yes, perfect. That's actually the goal of this session, actually, which is a platform for all our experts to interact in order to develop further and further the Islamic finance in the region. And the ultimate goal, of course, is to benefit the Ummah. So thank you very much, Ms. Medina, for your input. I don't know if there is any other question in the chat. Probably we have time for one last question. Whether you can unmute yourself or you can just drop the question in the chat. Otherwise, or meanwhile, I will ask one final question to our respective speakers. It's a question that you can answer. I mean, the three of you can answer. So it will be about your opinion about the development of Islamic finance in the CIS region in the next 5 to 10 years. Please, let's start with Mr. Dania.
In my opinion, the next 5 years will be very active in terms of development of Islamic finance in the region. It will start from, I think, launch of sukuk, new sukuks, and maybe new companies will come, new banks, international banks, international financial institutions should come to the region. I see that there is a big activity from the Middle Eastern players also in the region. We have a lot of visits from the UAE and from Qatar and other Middle East countries this year. I think also it will have certain impact on the development of Islamic finance, especially in Kyrgyzstan also, and Astana. And the number of Sharia expertise and knowledge and awareness also is increasing. I think that new institutions will come also in the future because we have a lack of expertise and knowledge in Sharia Islamic law, and I think there will be a lot of international Islamic institutions which will try to bring this awareness to the population in the near 5 years.
Understood. Thank you very much. I don't know if Ms. Libov, you have an input on this question?
Yeah, I would like to add that to answer this question, I think that we have to see the past statistic of the development of Islamic finance in Kyrgyz Republic. And during the last 5 years, there was a lot of done in legislation aspects. New players in Islamic financing were appeared. And it means that Islamic finance became more attractive in our region, and it will be increasing, and new institutions will receive licenses from National Bank, and this Islamic finance will be more developed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Libov. Ms. Medina, moving to you.
Yes, I agree with my colleagues, but also I hope to see sovereign sukuk issues from our government. I mean, Central Asia Ministries of Finance. And also I hope to see more interesting instruments, like, as I mentioned, like social and green sukuk, or other types of Islamic financial instruments. And I hope to see a strong link between the Islamic finance and halal industry. Now we have, like, halal industry, we have Islamic finance, but they're kind of separate. So I hope to see within 5-10 years that they will be linked, and we can develop Islamic finance for halal industry, and halal industry will also contribute to the development of Islamic finance.
Thank you very much for your input, Ms. Medina. I think, I don't know if there is any question from the audience, probably perhaps the last one. If you have any question, you can just drop it in the chat or unmute yourself and ask directly. If not, I think we have reached to the end of our session. So, ladies and gentlemen, after listening to all the thoughts and also ideas shared by our esteemed panelists, personally, what I can conclude is that there is a huge potential for the development of Islamic finance industry in the CIS region as a whole, now in this webinar, we have shed light on only 2 countries in the CIS region, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and alhamdulillah, there is potential for the development of different sectors of the industry in these countries, and I believe that same in other countries. Actually, with that, I think we're gonna conclude. Thank you very much for your contribution. With the concluding remarks, we have now come to the end of the session, which is titled Understanding the Islamic Finance Ecosystem in Central Asia. I would like to thank all our panel speakers for sharing their thoughts and opinions on today's topic. That I would like to also thank our audience for their careful attention and engagement, also for the questions that they have asked. It's been insightful. Once again, thank you very much, and see you in the next webinar, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.